again, as Juliet said, I work for the Wyoming Legislative Service Office, and I constantly get cynicism about that. And so it started making me think about what are the first words that you think of when you think of politics and politicians. Shout it out. Liars. Oh yeah, what else? Corruption. What? Corruption. Adultery. What else? What else?
Ranchers.
What? What? It's not great. You know the Maroon 5 song, it's not always rainbows and butterflies, warm puppies, hearts and flowers. What? When I ask that question, I never hear anything positive. And why is that? And the question is, are you a skeptic or are you a cynic? Your role as a citizen in this society is to hold your government into account, and that is what being a skeptic is. Being a cynic is being lazy. You opt out of the system and you opt out of participating in the process. And I love this quote by former Senator Alan Simpson. Cynicism is a cop-out. It takes no virtue or brains to be a critic. Skepticism, on the other hand, is essential to the functioning of a representative democracy. So, why are we so cynical? I started asking that question as I took the position to do public outreach for the Wyoming legislature. And my husband thinks that I just don't have a sense of humor about political jokes. Because he said, you know, I'm an engineer and people make fun of us all the time. And I said, well, that's because you're an engineer. But when you look around, you see negative reinforcement everywhere. Crest Toothpaste was selling toothpaste a few years ago saying, one election that will leave a good taste in your mouth. Even toothpaste sells by bashing on politicians. How about anyone familiar with the Absolute Vodka campaigns? Anyone think that's a banker up there? School teacher? Anyone? Anyone? Well, unfortunately, it's all around us. Cynicism about politics is pervasive. And so it really is time to question whether or not we have assumptions about representative democracy right. And a lot of it is the fact that we just assume things that are wrong about the system. So we're going to go through a few what I call myths and realities. The first one is Hollywood has it wrong. When you think about movies, Manchurian Candidate, Dave Roberts, all of those movies out there, we know that the monster movies are fake, but for some reason when we talk about politics and politicians, we think those movies are real. Media, and Wyoming media does it right, but national media, the Rachel Maddows, the Glenn Becks, their job isn't necessarily to let you know how it is. Anyone ever see a line that says 99% of all planes landed safely today? No, not their job. Their job is to sell. So another point is we don't all agree in society. You know, when you think about it, we say, if those politicians would just do what we want, then they'd get it right. But think about the fact that at your own house, your neighbor, you may say, oh my gosh, I'm going straight into the garage. I can't talk to him anymore. I don't want to hear what he has to say about that. Your legislator represents you and your neighbor, and you don't always agree. You don't agree at Thanksgiving. In-laws can't talk to them about politics, right? We can't win them all in this system, and yet we have this expectation that we go into the doors of the Capitol and we walk out and we think, I didn't get the bill the way I wanted it. Guess what, folks? That's the way representative democracy is supposed to work. A batting average for the pros is, what's a good batting average?
300.
Batting 300. You fail 70% of the time. And yet when you walk out of the political system and you didn't get everything you want, you think the system stinks. This is a process that takes time. Look at us here tonight. Holy cow, these slides are going by fast, faster, faster. Enlighten me, but make it quick. We don't like the fact that good legislation takes a lot of time to make. But you know what happens when you have fast lawmaking? A lot of times the next year you go back in and you know what you say to those politicians? They didn't get it right. Well, maybe that's because they did it too fast. Making good law takes time. And the founders planned speed bumps in the process along the way, and we all learn that in civics, but we forget it in real life. I didn't hear when we first started anyone talk about those nasty lobbyists and special interests. Well, guess what? Those special interests are you. 8 out of 10 Americans belong to a public interest group, and if you don't, I bet there's one of the 165,000 nationally registered nonprofits that represent your interests. And it's the old pogo saying, I have met the enemy and it is us. You are represented by special interests. We like to say if something we like, it's in the public interest. If it's something we don't like, we like to say it's a special interest. So I'd like to challenge you today to realize politics is messy, and it's beautiful in its messiness, and it's human, and yes, we can make improvements in the system, But if you opt out and people don't run for office, then basically you've got what you've asked for. Wow, those slides went by fast.